recording. Hello, and welcome back to the Mimi Podcast. Here with your hosts today, Xavier Francis Motley. We have our co-host today, Jackson Daniel May.
Hello. What's the word?
All right. Today, we're going to be talking about the book Wurthering Heights by, what's her name?
Emily Bronte.
Emily Bronte. All right. So, the main thing about this book, right? What do you think about the social dynamics inside the story?
That's a great question. Could you go into more depth what you mean with that question? I'd like to,
Like,
understand it.
the social dynamics, like, what do you think about Heathcliff and Catherine and everyone's roles in the story?
I mean, yeah, like they're cool, you know.
That's
I
it?
don't know more what you say. I don't know. Like your question's kind of vague to me personally. Like, I don't know, very
Fair
vague.
enough. Me personally, I see it like, I feel like Heathcliff was just kind of put into the mix. You know what I mean? I don't think he deserved to be there.
I'm not really sure what you mean. Deserved. It's not like
Like, he was
anyone
just
deserves
put.
anything.
True, he wasn't like, nobody really deserves anything. But at the same time, he was kind of just like thrown in the fray after being abused all of his life by whatchamacallit's dad, Mr. Earnshaw, if I'm not wrong.
He wasn't abused by Mr. Earnshaw. He was abused
I
by
know he was
Hindley.
abused by his. No, I'm talking about his old family because he was on the streets, right?
hmm
Yeah, he was just abused by his old family. I'm assuming,
He was
or at
on
least
the
he was in a
streets.
bad situation. That's for sure.
What we didn't know about his family, he was living on the streets. So I'm just,
Yeah, but since the dude was living on the streets and everything, let's just assume that he was already in a bad position. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I feel like that's a fair assumption to make. And then, within his role inside of actual Withering Heights, I feel like he kind of just like got it. Like, I understand him taking over the place after uh he what was his brother's name?
Hindley.
Henley died.
Hindley.
But at the same time, I feel like out of everyone, I don't think he should have taken over. That's just my personal assumption on it.
So I'm gonna assume you haven't read the book
No, I
because your
have.
personal assumption is just wrong.
But like, I
He
just
built
don't
up
like him.
to take over. Like his whole point of revenge was to take over Wuthering Heights and also
I get
Thirst
that his
Cross.
point was to take over. But I feel like it's kind of like, it was kind of just badly done, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't say it was badly done. I mean, he did it in a way where it worked for him and benefited him.
Fair enough.
He
True.
made sure that Harrington, you know who that is?
Yeah.
Okay, Harrington. He made sure because he was, I guess, originally supposed to be the heir to the Wuthering Heights because he's the son of Henley, right?
Yeah.
So he made sure he was unfit to take control. He was kind of, I'd say, dumb, illiterate, unintelligent. He was intelligent naturally, but he wasn't you know intelligent, outgoing. He
Yeah.
was
He
made
wasn't.
kind of groomed to be someone dumber.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
So that ultimately made you know Heathcliff, that allowed him to take control because he had that power.
Yeah.
Hindley was already an alcoholic and abused it. So you know Heathcliff was the one mainly taking care, supporting all that. Really, really the one who was kind of in charge while Hindley was still in charge. But you know.
Yeah, I get what you mean. But I don't know. I just That's just my personal assumption on it. Like, it's not bad at all. But I don't know. Maybe it's just from how I've seen different stories. All right, next question. What do you feel about how Catherine got sick? Do you think that was just like a retcon inside the story to like advance the plot forward, or it had actual reason?
Well, I'd say the reason of it was to kind of advance the plot and make sort of all emotions deeper and tied deeper. She was dying. That whole scene with her and Heathcliff, that was much more emotional because she was sick and dying. If she was never sick and dying, we wouldn't have had that scene. It wouldn't have been emotional. So it wouldn't have made sense. Like, just imagine if she wasn't sick and she just wasn't dying. They just did that, and like within the next week or so, she's just alive. Like, they just had the whole heartfelt moment for nothing. But it
All
wouldn't make
right.
sense. So her being sick really helped. Like, that was just the cherry on top, you know? Because if
Yeah.
she was alive, Heathcliff's revenge plan really wouldn't have worked out. I mean, it wouldn't have been able to really advance as much as it had if she was still alive.
True.
So, I mean, that was really what her death was kind of for. I think that's what her death was for. To help advance and advance in a way in Heathcliff's favor to keep his plan in motion. So,
Yeah, I see what you mean. Hmm. Yeah. Honestly, I don't. I think that it was not really retconned. It was explained why she got sick and everything. But if I'm not wrong, what exactly was her illness? I don't remember.
um,
You don't know. It wasn't explained.
if I'm sure, no, it was kind of explained. I forgot what it was called, but from what I can give as a breakdown, it was mostly her. Like, she was kind of, how do I put this? Breaking herself down, like wearing herself down, because she has so much internal conflict, and then the internal conflict will kind of like weigh her down and add it to her sickness and stuff. And like it just didn't help her at all, physically, mentally, and like be messed up with both. It's gonna just she constantly was deteriorating, kind of just like dying.
Yeah, I
Let me
get what you
search it up.
mean.
Let me look in the book actually. Yeah, her illness was like a brain fever. It was brain fever, like a brain fever.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
All right. So, what do you think about how Heathcliff went over to mainland and everything to gain power and everything else? What's your opinion on that?
Well, you go into more detail? What do you mean? My opinion on just how he went to mainland game power? I'd like more detail. With what you're trying to say.
Like, when he went over to the mainland to gain power and everything else, like gain influence or more rather money. Do you think that was like explained good inside the story or explained poorly? Because if I
Mm-hmm.
remember, I'm pretty sure it never explained what he did when he went over there. I feel like it should have explained when he went over there. Should have explained some of the events that happened and that occurred to grant him to get that extra money or funds or social status.
So it's not really explained in the novel. It's not explicitly explained. So it's he just had money, came back, he was really rich. I don't think it was explained. Pretty sure it was kept, you know, a mystery, so you could assume what he did. Maybe assume or your like own inferences. You come up with what he did. You think about how he got his money. You never know because he came back with the wealth, and it wasn't explained in the story like, at all. Not at all. So what you're saying was how? What do I think of that? How he
Yeah,
got it? Well, I mean, we really don't know how he got it, so there's no way to think of how. Like, think of Sorry, it's kind of hard to explain, but you really can't.
right.
Yeah,
Because in my opinion, I feel like they should have at least went into depth, at least for like one page, at least explain what he did over there. I feel like it would just add a little bit more depth to the story. That's all I was saying.
that's. But I think it's kind of better they didn't do that because you still have that mystery. Like, what did he do? Like, you don't know what he did.
True,
He
there
just
is a
comes back.
mystery.
He has more money. He's just better looking, obviously,
Yeah,
more put together than before. So he comes back, better than ever. I guess better than before. So there's no need to explain that. I'd say now an explanation would be good, but I think just keeping that a mystery is not you know, leave it to your own interpretation. So.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I just personally wish that they would have done something, if anything.
Yeah.
All right, next question. Hmm. What do you feel about the identity of, or the theme of identity inside the story? Like, for example, like when Catherine was truly questioning herself, like when she was questioning whether or not to marry Heathcliff or to marry Edgar, and her personal problems with that. What do you think of that?
So you want me to explain how I feel about Catherine's internal conflicts between how she feels
Yep.
about Edgar and Heathcliff. Okay, so how I feel about it, I think it's very interesting because in a common sense way, right? She went with Edgar for the social status, the money, comfortability, right? But she's denying the fact, like denying her soulmate because she really loves Heathcliff, right?
Yeah.
But she was thinking logically, well, more financially and socially, how she'd rather be comfortable with Vincent. And I can understand that in a way. I think it's interesting. Interesting, Dominic. I feel it makes her like it makes her seem more humane, like more grounded, like down to earth thinking. Because say for instance, like this. If you were say this, you have someone you truly love, but they don't really have nothing, no money, right? But then there's someone you kind of don't really love, but you can, I guess, find maybe some little sort of attraction for them. But they have a social status that's high. They've got enough money to where you could live and be comfortable. Would you not want to take that offer rather than the poor person that you love, but like, would you just rather be comfortable?
I feel like it varies because being comfortable or being in love. Tell me, like with that same thing, I get that she kind of loved him, but I feel like it was more forced. Honestly, I don't feel like she actually loved him. It was definitely a forced love, just for the marriage. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, but it was said that maybe they would grow to love each other. Like she would maybe grow to love him throughout the marriage. That was, hope.
True, but that goes into like symptoms of Actually, I don't know what it's exactly called. My bad, but basically just different illnesses and stuff like that. And I feel like that's also why she got her illness, if I'm not wrong. It's because she was just unhappy. It was explained in the novel that it was reckoning from God or something like that. If I'm not wrong. I don't know. I just feel like, me personally, in that situation, I would have done exactly what she would have done, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I just feel like, yeah, no. I can't really say anything else on that. I would have definitely done exactly what she did. But I don't get why she didn't just divorce him once,
Okay,
you
so
know,
I want you to think about
Heathcliff
this.
came back and got money.
Think about this. Think about this. Think of the time frame. Think of the time period we're living in, right?
Yeah.
Back in that time period, women didn't really have much choice to
Oh, yeah,
just
you're
do
right.
whatever. She couldn't just go divorce. It's not like she could just do that. So it wasn't really she could divorce. It's like she was married. She was married to White Linton right there. You couldn't just divorce right there. So what your point is? I don't think you're understanding the time period
Yeah, I've heard
of how
the one
of
saying
where
time
they
period and
live, like
everything.
where they are. You're not really understanding that part. But carry on.
Yeah. I don't know, me personally, I definitely feel like Edgar shouldn't have just, like, stayed with her, though. Me personally, if I was Edgar in that situation and had an unloyal wife, I definitely would not have stayed with her.
But he loved her. That
Did Edgar really love her?
he loved her.
Hmm.
She hit him, mistreated him, and
Yeah,
he
that's
still
true.
loved her. He still she wanted to be with her. So I mean,
Yeah,
he wouldn't just leave, going off his character and going off how he just felt what was in the story. He loves her. So
true. I just feel like, at least me personally, in that situation, after all that abuse and all like the, I don't think Catherine at the end of this, when she dies, I don't think she actually loved Edgar at all.
well, we don't know that. We, as the reader, will not know that. We
True.
don't know how the characters think. We don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
she did love him. You never know.
Just from like, I just feel like she did not love him. Just from the way that she was acting and everything else, I really don't think that there was. I don't. There's no way that she could have actually, really and truly loved him. I I
She could
cannot
have
believe
developed
it.
something.
Like maybe a little bit, but I feel like it was more forced love. You know, like I was saying before. I don't know. That's just my
Yeah,
personal
but
view on it.
is it really forced if you build it at some point? If you build that, learn to love the person is really forced.
I feel like it could be forced because
But you learned to love them. At some point, that's not forced. You learned. You willingly learned to love them.
yeah, true. But with how she was basically acting and everything, and how she also had Heathcliff over there when she was still being married and everything else, I feel like she definitely could have handled that a lot differently. I don't know. Maybe that's just me looking at that badly. I don't know. All right, let's go to a different question. What do you think about destructive passion inside the story?
You know,
Like,
I don't think I want to answer that
like,
question. I want to ask you that question.
all right. What do
How
I
about you
think?
answer the question?
What do I think about destructive passion? Uh, I feel like it was like, explained well. Probably the part that makes the novel the most interesting. But at the same time, probably the no. It's probably the novel's strongest suit, especially with Heathcliff and everything else. His passion for what was her name, Catherine, was pretty nice, and everything else. And then you take in like the destructiveness, and it just like it makes the story more interesting. I feel like it was there just to make the story interesting. Out of everything else.
I guess. I would like to ask you another question.
What?
How do you feel about the whole revenge thing with Heathcliff? How do you feel about his revenge plan, and how do you feel about it from the more earlier chapters in the book to the later chapters? How do you feel about both?
In the earlier chapters, he obviously succeeded in his revenge plan, but I also feel like he could have done more.
Could you go into more depth with that?
Like, for everything that he did with his revenge plan and everything else, compared to what he could have done, like, I feel like his revenge, it was definitely more methodical, more planned out, compared to most revenges in other stories and everything else. Definitely more psychological, which I like, personally. But, at the same time, I just feel like his revenge was kind of underwhelming in the early chapters. The later chapters, it definitely was a lot better. But those are later chapters. Of course, the revenge and everything is going to get better.
Give me a rundown. How do you feel about the later chapters? I want to hear that. I want to hear your
How I feel
side.
about the later chapters? They're definitely better compared to the earlier chapters. But not like insanely better to a point. Well, no, they were pretty good. I can't really say that.
How does this make you feel about Heathcliff? Like how do you view him later on? How do you view him now
How do
from
I
the
view
later
him now
chapters?
from the later chapters? I view him as kind of like a destructive man, if you get what I mean. Like, definitely dangerous, but at the same time, kind of deserved for what the people, at least for Hilton, what he did to him in the past.
Who?
His brother. I'm pretty sure
Who
his
is
name
Hilton?
Hilton
I'm sorry, sir. His name's Hindley, but
Hindley.
continue.
Oh, I got his name wrong. My
Or
bad.
Hindley.
But I feel like he definitely could have like done more to Hindley, but obviously Hindley got drunk. He eventually passed away and everything else, and he made it to where his son was a retard, basically.
Okay, look, I don't think it's okay to use that word,
You're right. It's
right?
not. I'm sorry.
Because if you think about it, this is still for a school assignment.
All right.
But
Let's
okay,
let's.
whatever.
All right. But like, yeah,
I mean, I'd say his revenge was successful.
it definitely
Truly,
was
truly
successful.
terrible. He began to become a worse and worse person. He was never really a great person, but later on he becomes just. I view him as a just terrible guy, just terrible person.
Yeah.
The way he treats his son, um, the way he treats Kathy, the way he treats Harrington, and the way he wants to keep this revenge going into this next generation, the younger. I just think that's honestly just so messed up
True.
because
I feel like he's definitely
I
dragging his
I really
revenge.
wonder what is he gaining at this point. I don't know. I really wonder what he's gaining at this point.
He's not gaining
Linton's
anything. He's just doing it.
Linton's a sickly boy, and he just keeps putting him through this harsh treatment. It's like kind of manipulating him in a way. He manipulated the whole marriage between him and Kathy just for his own personal gain. So Heathcliff's really not a good guy. I view
Yeah.
him as just bad. He's just not really good morally. He's just terrible. I understood his revenge earlier on. Like, okay, I understood the mistreatment. But then you bring it into the generation of kids, which they really have nothing to do with your mistreatment. He
True.
could have just ended it off after Hindley died, but you know.
Yeah, I get what you mean. But I feel like I feel like he should have definitely ended it when Hindley died and everything else. But I feel like the revenge he did, it it was deserved to Hindley. Don't get me wrong, and Catherine too, to an extent, for Catherine. Not that much for Catherine, but definitely deserved a little bit for her, basically just disregarding all of Hindley's love, or not Hindley, Heathcliff's love for money. I feel like that was definitely messed up on Catherine's part. But what he did to Hindley was definitely work. Like, I'm not gonna say it wasn't deserved. It was definitely deserved. But I feel like he did it in a bad way by basically making his entire bloodline horrid. That's the
I
only good
mean,
way I can describe it.
from such mistreatment, after so long, I can understand where he comes from, but honestly, he took it just a little too far by
Yeah,
affecting Harrington. I think it was unnecessary.
true. It was unnecessary, but it adds a little. It makes you like hate Heathcliff, which I think is what the end of the story wanted you to think. It's basically for you to hate Heathcliff when he was basically groomed into becoming this person. He didn't know what to do else other than to take his revenge on people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see where you're coming from.
Like, just overall, it could have definitely been done differently. But for someone who knows nothing else other than revenge, you can't really do something else. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
can't teach an old dog new tricks. So he's just stuck there in a cycle of revenge for something that he already got revenge for. Which is kind of like the not really bittersweet, but just like the sad part of the story, honestly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. That's just my personal take on it. Do you have any more questions for me?
No. I'm finished here.
Alright. Can I think of any other questions to ask? What are we looking at like on our time? Oh. All right, that'll be enough for today, guys. We're already 24 minutes in. So, yeah. See you guys tomorrow on the next episode of Mimi's podcast.